Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, we are doing another comparison, but we are not doing a weapon comparison this time. We are doing another AI comparison specifically. And this is one that some people have been asking for a while. One person in particular actually has been asking every single video. You know who you are. Yeah, I've seen it, don't worry. It just took me a little longer to get it done. But anyways, without further ado, we will be comparing to see which Halo game has the strongest flood infection forms. So, it's not really something like you commonly think of, because usually they're kind of just like a nuisance in most Halo games. They were first introduced in Halo 1, of course, and they only appear in the classic Halo games, so we can only compare Halos 1, 2, and 3 for this. Don't even worry about games that we can't compare this time. But, you know, it's not something we really think about, because like usually they're just like one-hit kill and then, you know, we're done with it. But each Halo game actually does have pretty big differences with the flood infection forms. So for this video, we will be taking a look at the differences between each game's flood infection forms and determining which Halo game has the strongest flood infection forms. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. And let's start with Halo 1, the game that introduced the flood in the first place, including the flood infection forms, of course. So, taking a look at the base stats. Strangely enough, these, according to the game files, these flood infection forms have 80 points of health, which is a lot. And yet they're still one-hit kill. So take that health with a grain of salt, and just let's just say they're all one-hit kill in this case, because I'm not sure like what's going on there. There's probably something like that's making you do extra damage to them, but that's their base health. As for when they actually bite you when your shields are down, each bite does 3 points of damage, and when they pop on your shields, it does 1 point of damage. So that's our base stats for Halo 1. It's kind of odd, but yeah, it's just how it is. So let's move on to Halo 2 now. Halo 2, the flood has a lot of differences and improvements. They're a lot more advanced than Halo 1's flood. Advanced as in like technically advanced as far as like the game engine goes. Namely, like the flood, they don't just like play dead anymore and get back up. The flood infection forms actually can infect dead flood bodies now and then bring them back to life essentially. But as for their stats, they have 1 point of health now, which actually makes sense. That's why they're one-hit kill. Their bite damage has been increased from 3 to 5 now for each bite, and they can bite pretty quickly too. But their pop damage, you know, when they explode on your shields, that's still just 1 point of damage. But of course, their biggest new feature, aside from more damage, is that, you know, they can infect dead flood bodies and bring them back to life. Now, the last Halo game that we'll be comparing, and the one that's supposedly like supposed to bring an end to the flood, depending on like how you interpret the lore and stuff, and how you expect things to be in Halo Infinite, the flood has evolved a lot, and they've actually made a point of the flood evolving in Halo 3. But like in this case, of course, evolve, I mean technically evolve as far as the game engine goes. So their stats. Health is still the same, 1 point of health, which, you know, still makes sense. Their bite damage has increased a lot, though. It's doubled from Halo 2, from 5 to 10, and which is still even higher than the 3 from Halo 1. So they're a lot more deadly, and when a lot of them are biting you at the same time, you'll die pretty quickly, even on easy. But pop damage remains the same, 1 point of damage. And in addition to infecting dead flood bodies, they can infect any dead bodies now, and they can also infect live bodies, too. So they are all around a lot more dangerous, and they can make a lot more flood on demand anytime. So, now that we've got all the base stats and features from each flood, which Halo game has the best flood infection forms? Well, it doesn't usually win a lot in other weapon comparisons we do, and even AI comparisons, but in this case, I would have to declare Halo 3 as the winner. That's right, Halo 3 has the best flood infection forms, for a number of reasons. One, they're actually like pretty resilient. Like I know they only have 1 point of health and die in one hit, but they're pretty solid. Like as you can see here, they're strong enough to like shake a warthog around, especially when they swarm it. And that is because starting in Halo 2, you don't see this often in Halo 2 because I don't think there's many cases where you have a warthog and flood infection forms on the same mission in Halo 2. But starting with Halo 2, flood infection forms are very solid, and you can't splatter them anymore with a warthog. In Halo 1, if you run over them, they just pop instantly. and they just die right away. But in Halo 2 and 3, especially 3, they're a lot more solid. And if you run over them with like a Warthog and a Warthog run, you could easily flip over actually. And even like a Scorpion tank, they could like move it actually with enough of them. So they are very strong. And of course, Halo 3's Flood Infection Forms can not only affect dead Flood forms and bring them back to life, but they can turn any dead bodies into Flood, and even infect live characters and turn them into Flood while they're still alive. Something that they can't do in Halo 2. I know some people ask me to do like Halo 2 videos of certain characters getting infected by the Flood, but it's just not possible. That's only possible in Halo 3. So yeah, that's a pretty big thing. And aside from all those features, the Flood Infection Forms, when they bite you while your shields are down, they do the most damage of all the Halo games. So basically all around, Halo 3's Flood Infection Forms are the strongest. Now I know Halo 1 does have the 80 points of health for the Flood Infection Forms, but like I said, I just don't understand like why that is, because they clearly don't have 80 points of health when you shoot them. So there must be something going on. So I guess we can just disregard the health and just assume they're all the same, because they all die in one hit to pretty much any weapon. But yeah, so aside from the health thing, Halo 3's Flood Infection Forms are definitely the strongest, and thus Halo 3 is the winner in this case. So yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this comparison and found it to be interesting and informative. And if you did, as always, make sure to leave a like.